Hello, Salmon Skins, wherever you are listening to this episode of Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. I am Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. I have a baby strapped to me, and I'm not going to come out until I get $1 million and a helicopter to the airport so that I can get a plane instead of a helicopter, because I hate helicopters. Now, the opening of this episode, the opening 15 minutes, are a little edited version of a conversation that I had with my nephew Cillian and my niece Roisin, who were in Burr hanging out. And it's mainly Cillian and me talking about movies, because Roisin insisted on playing the ukulele even though she doesn't know how to play, and eating an ice cream, which there's a little bit of that, so trigger warning. I know people hate the sound of people eating, so just beware. So here we go with Cillian featuring Roisin.
Here we go now, Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. Another episode of Edwin Salmon of Knowledge. I've got guests on this episode. It's Cillian and Roisin. Who were they? They're my nephew and my niece. That's why I have them on this week, because I'm related to them. They're my nephew and niece. Although it's mainly Cillian, cause Roisin decided that she wanted to eat an ice cream, and no one wants to hear people eating, and that's a real turn off for a podcast, let me tell you now.
Hey, Salmon Skins. It's a very special, possible extra episode of the podcast. I don't know, I'm here with my nephew and godson, which makes me Marlon Brando, I suppose, and you're Al Pacino. Can you do a Al Pacino impression?
I don't know who Al Pacino is.
Oh, so wait, how old are you now?
12.
How come, what is it with today's society that 12-year-olds don't know who Al Pacino is? Hoo-ah! The last time you were on this podcast, Cillian, you talked about your favourite actor.
Not my favourite actor anymore.
Tom Holland. Tom the Netherlands Holland is not your favourite actor anymore. Who's your favourite actor now?
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale. So you went from Tom Holland to Christian Bale. Now, tell me this. What is it about Christian Bale that makes him a better actor than Tom Holland?
Doesn't make him a better actor, even though he probably is. Just makes me like him more.
No, he's won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Tom Holland has not.
Yeah, probably won't.
Well, he's quite young, so I mean, he's got time. But I see a trend emerging here. Your favourite actor used to be someone who played Spider-Man, and now your favourite actor is an ex-Batman.
Yes.
Can you do an impression of Christian Bale as Batman?
No.
Where is it? Where's the Batman? Give me the Joker.
I liked him in The Dark Knight and all, but then I watched a movie. I can't remember the name of it, to be honest. But it's about these dragons and him. It's a very good movie. It has Matthew McConaughey in it.
Reign of Fire.
Yes. That one.
It's set in a post-apocalyptic world.
They were mining at the start of it, and they found this dragon, and he got spit in the eyes with it. And I'm pretty sure it was called the Inferno or something.
And Reign of Fire. Yeah, I watched that actually a while ago, and thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, it was decent.
Yeah, not amazing. I thought it was a bit strange. I remember reading about Christian Bale saying, because he's quite a serious actor, and he was saying that he signed on to do this movie, and it was because it was post-apocalyptic. He figured, the people wouldn't have much food, and they wouldn't have, like free weights or a gym, because they would have been the first to be destroyed by the dragons in the apocalypse, because dragons, hate gyms and fitness. So he I'm not going to be buff. And then he saw Matthew McConaughey, who's really quite buff in it and quite muscly. So he started hitting the gym so he could be as muscly as McConaughey. And in fairness to him, I admire his commitment, but also it is a movie about dragons. So
it's not really the main focus of you being buff in it.
Exactly. And if you're buff, people aren't going to say, well, this movie about dragons shouldn't have buff men in a post-apocalyptic world, and then they leave the cinema in disgust.
Because nobody in the movie is good. Because nobody's going to have watched the movie and said, that was pretty shit, but they're all quite buff, so it makes up for it, you know.
And he's got... Does McConaughey have tattoos in it?
I don't think so, no. He might have one or two. I can't really remember. But he does have quite a nice beard in it.
Oh, yeah. He's got a beard, and he's kind of like... He's like a kind of a mad Colonel Kurtz in it. And I suppose we can do... I was going to say spoiler alert, but the movie's quite old.
Yeah. If you haven't watched it, like this... I don't think there should be a spoiler alert for movies that have been out for however many years.
Agree. How many bags of popcorn would you give it?
Out of what?
The scale is up to you.
Out of, let's say, your average bag of popcorn you put in a bowl for a movie, let's say 5, I'd give it a 4 and 7 extra pieces of popcorn.
4 bags of popcorn and 7 kernels.
Yeah.
Of popcorn. Now, what was the last movie you saw?
The Black Widow movie.
Oh, Black Widow. Now, that's topical. Everyone wants to know Black Widow, Scarlett Johansson finally gets her Black Widow movie. Was it any good?
It was very good.
You'd recommend?
Yes.
5 bags of popcorn out of 5?
Maybe a 4. And 8 extra pieces.
So just 1 extra kernel from Rain of Fire. That's it. But it's very good. Is it too long?
I think it has a good... It has a good time. And it has a good kind of pace to the movie. But some things are kind of unbelievable, kind of not. Not unbelievable, but I just don't really understand how it happened. Like, well, I'm not going to... Spoiler alert for the Black Widow movie.
Well, sorry, actually, Cillian, the crowd here assembled in my bedroom seem to be annoyed about that. So maybe we can just do something. Okay, yeah, I know you're upset. You don't want spoilers. Okay, we won't spoil it, all right? Don't turn off the podcast. How about, Cillian, you just tell them what happens at the end?
And then she breaks out of her thing and kills them all, stabs someone with a syringe, and then goes running off to find all the other Scarlett Johansson people. Well, not Scarlett Johansson people, but all the other widows.
Okay. So I hope you're all... Yeah. Good. That's happy cheering. They sound angry, but they look happy. I also like your turn of phrase there, Cillian. The Scarlett Johansson people sounds like some sort of folk group from the 1960s. Ladies and gentlemen, the Scarlett Johansson people. We were fighting Russian mobsters. I don't know what the plot is. I do know this, though. What's his name is in it? Ray Winstone is in it. And I watched Ray Winstone in a movie called The Departed, or as it's pronounced in the movie because they're all from Boston, The Departed. And he plays an American with a really bad accent because he is from London, isn't he? And he's I'm American, and he's quite frankly awful. Now he plays a bad guy in this, and he's Russian. How is his Russian accent?
His Russian accent, you wouldn't even really realize he's Russian, but I think if he tried to do the Russian accent, it would be a lot bit worse. Because I think everyone knew he was meant to be Russian, but I think it'd be better not realizing he was Russian than you knowing he was Russian, but him doing a really shit job at trying to be Russian.
Yeah, you just be focusing on the accent. That's what Sean Connery used to say when he said he never did accents, because all people would hear would be his bad accent and not focusing on his character. It's like when Harrison Ford did a Russian accent in a movie called K-19, The Widowmaker. And I've talked about this on the podcast before, and it was just terrible. Why can't they just hire Russian people?
Yeah, I know. It's because it's going to bring traction to the movie. Because if you hear some Russian actor you've never heard of, it's just, oh, well, that's not going to be that good. But then if you hear of some Russian movie with Harrison Ford in it, you're going to think, oh, well, I might watch that.
Yeah, I think, and in some ways it kind of, I don't know. I think it doesn't make sense because everyone's going to go see the Black Widow movie because the Marvel movies are so popular and people are going to go see it. And you're selling it on Scarlett Johansson and Black Widow and Marvel. It's not like, there's some like 21-year-old movie fan going, oh, Ray Winstone. I love Ray Winstone. I've got a poster of Ray Winstone on my wall. He's a hunk.
But another thing I didn't really understand about the Black Widow movie was, at the end they're all flying off David Harbour, the mother, and the, Scarlett Johansson's sister. Yeah. But,
Florence
like,
Pugh.
They're fighting in Endgame. Scarlett Johansson dies. And that was the end credit, her sister not her blood sister, but her sister goes to her grave. But where were they during Endgame? Like, what were they doing? Yeah. Like, David Harbour is another super soldier who seems to think that he's as good as Captain America. Yeah. So why didn't he fight with Captain America in Endgame?
Well, see, now we're getting into the multiverse thing because I watched the TV series Loki recently.
I have not watched all of it. I've watched maybe an episode and a half of it because I came in and my parents were watching it and they were on the second episode and I watched it. For the episode I watched, it was quite good, and then the half episode I watched, it was also good. Yeah. And then I just kind of didn't pay as much attention because things didn't start making a lot of sense to me because I had missed out on the first part of it.
I don't know if I really enjoy these things because what I feel where the Marvel movies fall down a little bit and the TV shows as well is that they're not they don't end. Yeah. The ending is just a setup for another thing. It's like the whole show is just a trailer for a movie that's coming next.
No, that's the same thing with Infinity War. Infinity War was a great movie, but it ended. The ending was good, but we all thought that was the end. I genuinely thought that was the end of Marvel, nothing else. But me being very stupid, thinking that was the end of Marvel. Of course, next February you get a trailer for the new Endgame movie coming out in April. I went to go see Endgame. Good movie. Well done. Pat on the back. Because, the Marvel producers care about me, rating their movie. But
they've already made their money.
Yeah. It was a good movie. And but that's kind of like, how do you make another movie? Because like Black Widow's dead. I don't think anyone cares that much. Like, there's no main villain anymore. Yeah. That's probably the last Avengers movie. So what they're gonna do now is just gonna make backstories to every character. There'll be some background character in the second Iron Man movie that they'll make a whole TV series, 6 seasons and a movie.
So now here we are, joined on the podcast with Roisin, who has very good taste in movies. Her favourite movie is Shaun of the Dead, which is like a classic comedy, but also a classic horror movie. You like horror movies?
See.
And you like speaking in different languages during a podcast?
Hola.
Said yes and then hello. What is it about horror movies that you like so much?
Adrenaline.
Oh, you like the adrenaline of being spooked?
And nearly shitting my pants.
Nearly. How close have you come? What was the movie that brought your pants to the edge of being shitted upon?
I don't think I've ever shit in my pants.
I've never heard of anyone. I think the last time anyone shat their pants in my presence while watching a movie is probably when Luke was on my chest asleep and shat his nappy. But he's just a baby. He can't. He can't help it. Well, I tell you about my ice cream anxiety.
Yeah.
I have this thing where when I'm in the supermarket with Cara and we're buying groceries or doing the shopping, getting the messages. And I like an ice cream. My favorite ice cream is probably strawberry cornetto. I like a strawberry cornetto. So we're going around and Carol said, do you want ice creams? And I say, yeah, okay. But what I have to do is I have to get the ice creams last. It's the last thing we get before we head to the tills.
Why?
Because I have this thing about ice creams. The minute you get them out of the freezer, I'm just imagining them melting. And they've got like little voices. And they're like freaked out that they're like slowly dying or melting away. Like the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. They're like, I'm melting, I want ice cream. And I'm like, we have to get home and get these in the freezer before they melt. And I just have these visions of the ice creams melting all over the rest of the shopping.
You understand what I'm saying? I'd get killed for telling you this shit.
Kill walking your doggy.
Okay, guys, so welcome back. That was Cillian Salmon and Roisin Salmon appearing on the podcast. Now, Roisin was saying some things about Kermit the Frog. I was asking her, could she do any impressions? And she did an impression of Cillian, which I guess is that sibling thing where you're like, I'm going to do an impression of you and make you sound like an idiot. I used to do that to my younger brother. Not my older brother because he was bigger than me and he could beat me up. But my younger brother, I'd go, I'm Johnny, this is me talking. And he'd say, I don't sound like that. And I go, you don't sound like what? And he'd go, like that. I went, you do sound like that, see? Like that, this is how I talk. Because when you're younger, you're a complete asshole. Now, I say this with my son, Luke, asleep on my chest. I'm wearing a baby Bjorn. A working father, podcasting while a tiny baby sleeps on my chest. And it's like having dynamite strapped to you because it could go off at any second. So don't strap dynamite to you. You can strap a baby to you, but stay away from the dynamite. Stay clear of the dynamite, folks. That's what I'm saying. I don't know where you'd be getting dynamite anyway. Like, who sells dynamite? I've never known anyone to own dynamite or to even know of anyone who's owned dynamite in this country or another country. If you're a fan of dynamite, please text in your thoughts on dynamite, or don't, because this is a podcast and that's not how it works. Now, I was talking there about Luke, and just in the last week, back in Offaly, where I'm from, in Tullamore, which is a town about a half an hour's drive from Birr, which is my hometown, I did my first gig. Now, through the magic of editing, and because I have a baby, I did have Luke hanging off me, but his mother came back, so Cara's gone off with Luke, so I can do a little bit more recording and tell you about my gigs, because I was kind of wary of becoming the comedian who, hey, I've had kids, so I'm going to talk about my kids, and you're all going to listen, because we're all trapped here at this gig. But I think if you talk about anything and make it funny, then you can talk about anything. And there were some people in the crowd who have had kids, who came up to me and were like, oh yeah, that's 100%. We were laughing at that. We get that. We absolutely get those references to poo and such. I wasn't just making jokes about poo. I was just talking about the whole process, and I was talking about the pre-process and how we went to a fertility clinic to see where we were fertility-wise, and I had to basically jizz in a cup and bring it to them because I wasn't allowed. And I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, and I'm sorry if I have, but I've done about 60 hours now, so I'm in the process of repeating myself, but I'm repeating myself about repeating myself at a gig where I was repeating myself. So it all kind of comes full circle, and it all cancels each other out, and I'm actually talking fresh, new bollocks. So speaking of bollocks, I had to empty fully my bollocks, like one of those clickbait articles that you see. Well, they come up for me for some reason. Underneath a lot of it is, what these Coronation Street stars look like now. And one of them was like, Clint Eastwood is 91 years old, and where he lives now will shock you. I was thinking, does he live in a big house? He probably lives in a big house. He's been very successful with the old films. But, you know, there's always one that's like, this one simple trick will empty your bowels completely. And it's always like bananas being boiled in a saucepan or something, or a couple of sliced bananas. And I just think, is the trick something to do with bananas? It's like they're trying to make it a secret, but they also are giving you a little hint that if you just eat a lot of bananas, it will somehow clear out your bowels. Maybe one of the steps is injecting a lot of laxative into the bananas before you eat them. But I don't know for sure, because I didn't click on it. But the reason I mentioned the things that I've mentioned before is that, unlike doing a podcast where you're sort of occupying a space that is just you in a room, and you're talking out things and you're thinking about things and you're going through things and you're processing these things, but they don't come out as jokes per se, they just come out as thoughts. So the sort of thoughts that I was having about being a dad and things that we had experienced through the process of getting pregnant became things I could talk about in front of people and gauge their sort of instant reactions. And also the things that I would be kind of making jokes about, I would never really know if they were jokes or not. And like, I wasn't going back and listening to the other podcasts. I mean, I suppose they are kind of notes in a way, because I don't really make notes before I do any of these podcasts. It's just a stream of consciousness kind of style, the kind of style that puts Cara to sleep most nights. But talking about going to fertility, and I wasn't going to talk about it, I just sort of talked about it in general. And I said, you know, I had to, I couldn't use the arousal rooms that they have in the fertility clinics. I thought arousal rooms was kind of a funny name. It's like an exclusive pub nightclub in Dublin called the Arousal Rooms, and all the cocktails they make are, you know, screaming orgasms and slow comfortable screw and a fuck up against the wall, my favorite cocktail, and the wham bam thank you ma'am, and sex off the beach, which is the virgin version of that cocktail that they don't sell because it's the Arousal Rooms. So check out the Arousal Rooms somewhere in Dublin in your imagination. But I couldn't use the Arousal Rooms with their many facilities, and I don't know if they had magazines or some sort of hologram thing, or if it was like the holodeck in Star Trek, where like Riker, Commander William Riker, who was one of the more of a horn dog, I think, than Captain Kirk, because like Kirk was like very explicitly outwardly a horn dog, and he was sort of like, yeah, whoa, whereas Riker was like a diplomatic horn dog, as he seemed nice, but at the same time, yeah, he basically would have sex with digital prostitutes, as in he fell in love with some jazz singer in on the holodeck, and there's one of the episodes where he's just sort of obsessed with this hologram woman who's taking him away from his duties on board the Enterprise. And Jean-Luc Picard shows up, and I'm getting a call from Gene Roddenberry's Family and Lawyers now. And Jean-Luc Picard shows up, and he's like watching him seduce this hologram woman. And it's really, really very weird and disturbing. So I didn't get to use their hologram arousal room. So I had to do it at home. And I went into the bathrooms and I was like, yeah. Come on, imagination. So I immediately went into incognito mode. Not on my phone, in real life. I just put on a big jacket and a hat and dark sunglasses. I don't know why. I was like, the door was locked, and it just kind of made me warm, and it was uncomfortable. I couldn't really move my arms. And I needed those things because my wrists are connected to them, and they're all part of it. So it's great talking about this, realizing that I also have my 12 and 9-year-old nephew and niece at the beginning of this podcast. But I will say, spoiler alert, I haven't really said anything explicitly. I've said some funny words, but I'm not going to talk about the actual process. So I had to have it there. We had to basically have the sample within 90 minutes. And much like what I was saying to Roisin, and this is something that I said on stage, which worked as a joke. I said, I kind of felt like how I do whenever I buy ice cream at a supermarket. The minute I buy it, I just realize I have like a limited window of time with which to get it home and get it in the freezer before it starts to melt and go sour, which I was sure wasn't going to happen because, you know, my body's physically been through an awful lot of, I guess, trauma, for want of a better phrase. But I didn't really think, part of me didn't really think that this was ever going to happen, that I was ever going to have a kid. And lately he's been kind of babbling a little bit more. And just before he left, I did a little try to interview him. Like a lot of the time, he cries, or it's funny. He's smiling and laughing, and then you get a phone out, or you put a lens in front of him, and he's kind of looking at it like it's some sort of massive robot head. And it must be kind of disconcerting because he sees like the vague, sort of fuzzy shape of my big hairy head, well, half hairy head, the bottom half. And then this square screen keeps coming out to look at him. And he'll look at the screen in sort of bemusement, but he'll stop smiling or, you know, babbling or anything. And then sometimes he'll just start crying because he's like, I don't want to be filmed. Stop living life on your phone, Dad. That's his voice. Stop living life on your phone, Dad. Come on, live in the moment. With me, your son Luke. I don't know why I'm talking like this. Talking like a farmer from Offaly. So I grilled him, and here's a little exchange between me and Luke. Gesundheit. And Gesundheit again. That is a baby sneezing. And he's very, very chatty. Let's see if he has anything to say. Well, I mean, that's true, but yeah, I mean, you do make a fair point. I think the gold standard is something to think about, economically speaking. What about a return to the barter system? No? You don't like that? Oh, you really don't like that? Okay, well, you heard it here first, folks. Keep your goats at home.
If it's between you and some poor bastard whose wife you're going to turn into a widow, brother, you are going down.
So there you have it. Not much chat from the little man, but he is thriving. He's doing very well. I've mentioned before that he's been in a harness because his hips are all displaced. But the good news is one of his hips is perfect. The other one is nearly there. So another fortnight and he'll be out of that harness. And then there'll be no stopping his jazz dance fusion. And there was a little bit of jazz dance fusion in a movie I saw recently, which I will recommend. And it's called Another Round, a Danish movie with Mads Mikkelsen, who played Hannibal on television and was in a James Bond film. But he's more than a villain. He's a terrific actor. And it's very funny, heartfelt, touching, sad. It's everything. It's one of those things it's all things to all people. And if you're Danish, you don't even have to read the subtitles. But I'm very sophisticated and, you know, well read when it comes to movies. I've read a lot of movies because I've seen a lot of foreign films. Some people say, oh, I don't read it. But it's all about, I mean, there's scenes in it where there is no dialogue. And it's just, you know, it speaks for itself through the visual medium of the movies. And we watched it, myself and my younger brother, who was back from Berlin. And now he's back there again. Hi, Johnny. So Johnny came over with Judita, his girlfriend, and it was the first time she was in Ireland. So, you know, we gave her spuds. We dressed her up like a leprechaun. And we told her to just wander around the town with a hat. shouting Faith and Begara, and people will accept her as a true Irish person. And she did, so now she can never return. But no, we had lovely times, and we're hanging out, and it was so nice to see him, because we hadn't seen each other in so long, like 17 months. Obviously, we talked on the phone, and we'd done this sort of Zoom thing. But it's different for him being in a foreign country, surrounded by Germans. And, I'm rarely surrounded by Germans in Dublin, unless I sort of wander into a restaurant and there's German tourists, and I end up falling on the table, and they're all like speaking German angrily at me to get off the table. Because that's not happening, because, we only just started eating in restaurants again. And things are definitely returning to normal in a way that makes me a little bit sad, because not that I wanted the pandemic to go on, because lots of people have suffered. People have been out of work. I've been out of work. It's nice to do a gig and just feel there was no real sort of, oh, isn't this amazing? It was just nice. Like, this is the kind of what we do and what we have been doing. This is the normal way. And there was musicians there who hadn't gigged in a year. Jerry Fish, formerly of the band An Emotional Fish, now just Jerry Fish, or Jerry Fish and the Mud Blood Club. I think that's the name of them. So I introduced myself to him, I thought, in a very amusing way, where I said, Jerry Fish, Edwin Salmon, no relation. But we didn't shake hands, we knocked elbows, but not boots, although he's a very handsome man. But I'd never seen him before. I'd seen him at festivals, I'd kind of walked past him kind of thing, in the performers areas, but I'd never really chatted to him. But a lovely man, and he was so good. It was him and a guy on piano, and he just got the crowd up and dancing and singing along, and he hadn't done a gig in like a year. And I got to hear like one of the famous Emotional Fish songs was called Celebrate. Celebrate, this party's over, I'm going home, which he played as his second or third last song. So we didn't go home at that point. But it was just like, okay, this is normal. And and we had some pints up in the Thatch in Burr, Johnny's first pint of Guinness, because we've had pints of Guinness before. I went over with my friend Andrea to Berlin, and we were drinking pints, and it was just these big foamy pints where it just looked like a massive, weird, Irish liqueur coffee with a big foamy head that was sort of collapsing in the middle, so it looked like a twister of foam. And it was rotten, because they just pour it in one go and it all foams up. They don't know, like the 2 pour, or apparently the 3 pour is a thing. And actually there was because we had people over here in the house as well, friends of my brother-in-law Niels, who were home from, they live in Austria. No, sorry, they live in Germany. But he's from Dublin. His wife Claudia is from Austria, and they had 2 lovely kids. And we're just having a barbecue and hanging out. And it was just nice. It was just nice to be doing these things. And also, it's just kind of normal. Like, things always go back to normal. Even though at the beginning of this thing, it was a sort of, and I did make fun of this in a little fake promotional ad. Promotional? What was it promoting? The government. Like a government information ad, not promotional ad. Promoting information. Hey, do you like information? Well, you love this. Information promotional. And, it's all now more than ever, the things that are more important we need to focus on, or, life-work balance is a thing that you're hearing a lot. And it doesn't seem, like, I know people who've been working 2 or 3 times as hard because they've been working at home. Some people want to go back to the office, and some people don't. I think there should be a choice, and there should be more discussion about it, because, we noticed just the other day we were leaving Johnny back to the airport and driving back. And of course, it's the M50, it's a major motorway, but it was, 1:30 or something, 1:00, 1:30. It wasn't like rush hour, evening or morning traffic, but the roads were full. And when we were coming back from Waterford during the first lockdown. I think I'd done maybe 4 or 5 episodes of this podcast show, and we met like 2 cars, a truck and a car, from Waterford to Dublin, and it was sort of weird and eerie, and I kind of felt like I was in a zombie movie. And I liked all that stuff, where, you know, goats coming in and eating an entire village in Wales, and, you know, pollution lifting, people being able to see the mountains in the distance and being able to breathe properly, and, you know, nature reclaiming itself. Kind of like what would happen in a disaster movie or some sort of post-apocalyptic. Come with me, dancing on the sea in a post-apocalyptic calypso. In a post-apocalyptic world, which, you know, and now there's like, you know, red alerts and red alarms and 10-star hot alarms for climate change. And, you know, they keep reshaping it and reforming it, but, you know, like the temperatures are rising and floods are rising, and it's happening. Like, I don't know if it's too late. It seems to me that it's too late, and it seems to me that we've been sold down the river, and, you know, we've been told that it's our fault because we haven't been using metal straws. We've been using plastic straws all this time, even though 30 billion tons of crude oil are dumped by this company into the ocean. And these companies' practices are producing toxic waste. And, you know, McDonald's are chopping down huge sections of the rainforest in order to breed cattle to make horrible burgers. And I'm as guilty as the next person. I mean, I love my Burger King, though, that's all I'll say. Not my McDonald's, or my Supermax if I can. Even though myself and Cara have made an effort to eat way less meat, which we have done when we were living in town. But now we've got more people to think about, and not everyone likes a well-baked courgette as much as they do a nice roast chicken dinner. And I've got to be honest, I'm actually one of those people. I picked one of the blandest vegetables there to kind of make my point. I'm not saying that, you know, I mean, vegetarian food is delicious. It's just food. If you can cook food properly and make it tasty, then you know what you're doing. But obviously you have a head start with the flesh of an animal. So this has been a paid promotion by the non-vegetarians of the world. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit depressing what's going on. So with that in mind, let's forget our worries, forget our strifes, and let's just have a little bit of what I like to call my new favourite show, Baby Detective. And if you're worried about the fact that you haven't seen the first couple of episodes, I wouldn't worry about that, because the main character in Baby Detective tends to talk out loud about the things that he's just done in the weeks leading up to the actual episode that he's in. I think sometimes he might even refer to what he's done as an episode of his life. But it's getting very heated. I think our protagonist and antagonist might actually even meet in this episode. So hang on to your hats. And if you're not wearing a hat, get a hat and put it on so you can hang on to it. It had been a crazy morning for me, Jonathan Baby, aka Baby Detective. I was in my office just enjoying some nice tummy time. Turning my head left and right, doing my morning exercises. Also moving my elbows and knees in a vain attempt to stand up. But I was just a baby. Besides, that's what Denise was for. The phone rang. It was the hospital. Denise put me in the baby Bjorn. We toddled off. Talking to Dr. Johnson, it seemed all the milk had been stolen from the nursing mothers. The trail led somewhere. There was an orderly in the hospital. He didn't belong. I noticed because, well, that's my job. I'm a detective. He went back to talk to his boss, a character I haven't met yet.
Here I am, boss, talking to you.
He's fucking Speedy Gonzales. What has happened, Spish?
Some people are saying my voice is culturally inappropriate and insensitive.
Insensitives? What are they talking about? You have no sensitivities, or appropriateness, or culture. You hear me, Bish? Now, what's happening with the milks?
They are loading it on their trucks, boys.
Good, you're keeping your silly voices.
But what about that thing I told you, boss? The wet wipe that was left behind at the scene of the crimes.
What the fuck is that voice? Are you French now, Bish? Is that what you're telling to me now? That you are French? That you eat frog's legs and you tell me where champagne comes from in the specific region?
Sorry, boss.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize to you, Fernandez. I am just so stressed out from all of this baby detective nonsense. I forget to treat my bishes well. You are my favorite bish. Now let's go kill Jonathan Detective.
Why did you wait so long to say his name? Meanwhile, in Baby Detective's Baby Laboratory...
Denise, can you lean in a little lower? Yes, push me right up to the microscope. Curious.
What is it, Mr. D?
It's a word, Denise. An adjective. It means eager to know or learn something, or strange and unusual. And in this case, it's both. There's a tiny bit of chipotle sauce. I didn't need to analyze it. I just did it with my tongue. That's the analyzer that's in my head.
What the fuck are you talking about, Mr. D?
I'm saying, Denise, that I know every chipotle sauce in every restaurant in this city. And this comes from one place.
Well, how do you know?
Well, it's that particular tang that you only get from this chipotle sauce, from this restaurant. And the restaurant is above the old abandoned refrigerator factory. And that's where we are right now on my laptop.
But the narrator guy said that you were in your lab.
Well, we're not very close. I don't tell him all my movements. He can get things wrong. People are fallible.
Even me, Mr. D?
Especially you, Denise. Fallible and easily replaceable. So don't you question my motives or where I am or what the narrator is saying. You listen to me. Wait a minute. What's that sneaking around music I hear?
I don't know. I guess people are sneaking around upstairs.
Meanwhile, upstairs from where they're standing...
Move around, Fernandos. Move, you bish. I think you have me too tight in this baby, Bjorn.
Oh, no, boss. If I can get 2 fingers underneath the straps, then
loosen
you're not
me
too
now.
tight.
I am tight.
Okay, I'm sorry. I loosen.
Yes, bish. Yes, better. I can feel my chest breathing in and out again.
Sounds like the breathing of a baby. But that can't be. There's no baby allowed to be here except me, because I'm a baby detective.
You think we should go and check it out, Mr. D?
Of course we should go and check it out. God damn it. I'm a detective. That's what I do. I detect. But first, get the changing mat. I'm not going in there with a wet bum.
Okay, yeah, we don't want you cranky.
We cannot find the wet wipes anywheres. I think Fernando's... Maybe I was a little too hasty. Maybe we probably used 2 wipes instead of 1 when you were cleaning shit off my balls. Maybe I overreacted. I have been on a lot of formula lately. I'm sorry, Bish. You're my favorite, Bish. I hate to have to replace you.
Is it because you love me so much, bosses?
No, it's just very hard to do all the interviewing and, I'm very, very bad at making decisions when it comes to staffing. When it comes to the business. Oh, I need more milk.
I think you might have had enough, boss.
I tell you when I have enough.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Apology accepted.
Well, Denise, I think we've talked long enough about what's possibly upstairs and the noise. So let's go and investigate it.
Yeah, why have we been just standing here all this time?
Okay, Fernandos, I think we've stood here talking long enough about the evidence been missing and possible reasons why we haven't been able to find it, because
It's human error. Your error. You'll pay for this. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to threaten you like that, bitch. Anyway, that's enough talking. Let's get out of here. Wait. I hear someone sneaking. Yeah, I hear it too, boss. Come on, Denise. Let's just sneak up these stairs and up to this door. Now, here we are, standing at a door, ready to open it. Boss, I think I hear someone talking out loud behind the door. Yes, I hear it too, Bish. Load my baby gun with baby bullets. I think that could be a.k.a. the famed Mr. Diamond Detective, Mr. Detective Boots, Johnny Detective, a.k.a. Jonathan Detective, a.k.a.'s Baby Detective. Now strap me in. I don't want to get hurt by the recoil when you shoot him the minute he opens the door. Denise, could you do the honors? I just don't have the arm strength. Sure, Mr. D. Here we go. Door opening in 3, 2. Why are you doing a countdown? Just for dramatic purposes. Okay. 1. Say hellos to my little baby friends.
Oh my god, what a cliffhanger. I can't wait to find out what happens next. It's the big showdown. That will be in the next episode of the podcast. That's right, Ed. But this is the end of this episode of the podcast. And I'd like to thank myself there and for that smooth handover back to myself. If you enjoy the podcast, please tell someone about it. Or at the very least, give me a review on Apple or on Spotify or online, or set up a whole blog page and just post about how great my podcast is. But the reviews really help me get it into the ears of people who might enjoy it. I will be down in Kilkenny for the Cat's Laughs on Monday at 7 p.m. in Langton's Courtyard, which is a sold-out gig, so you can't get tickets for it, but I just thought I'd mention it because I'm back doing gigs, and it's my first Dream Gun Film Reads show in over 2 years, I think. So that's going to be fun. And also next Tuesday the 17th of August, I will be in Dolan's in Limerick supporting Kevin McGarn, doing a comedy gig, his first comedy gig in, I don't know, a year and a half. So that's going to be fun watching him sweat. And I'm also going to be sweating, but not as much because I have 2 under my belt. And it's very hard to get gigs to fit under there. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. And I hope you keep on smiling. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Oh, yeah.
Okay.